is the new Tokyo Hotel. This is pushing them all the way to like where their new sound is.
I just wanted to have the sound that I use in the studio, and I wasn't always able to, and that bothered me the whole time. Now, I don't want to recreate anything. I want to play the original sounds from the record. So with the last tour on Humanoid, we kind of like already started in like the process of playing live. Like I was already thinking about how can we transport all the sounds that we're using in the studio, how can we transport that to, you know, the shows that we're playing. I just wanted to have the sound that I use in the studio, and I wasn't always able to, and that bothered me the whole time. Long before we even released this record, I was a little concerned how we're gonna transport the whole thing, you know, live.
So when I first met Tom, he had a really clear idea of what he wanted this show to be, because he was so involved with producing this record. So they wanted, both he and Bill, they really wanted each song on the vocal side to have different effects and to be how it is on the record. And that means there's songs with distortion, there's songs that have long delays, there's songs that have crazy spatial reverbs. They wanted all of that to come to life in a live setting. So that's why we agreed on using Mainstage, and I think what we're doing with it is pushing it farther than most are.
Before we even released the record, I was meeting up with Aaron, and I talked with him, and I was like we want to really use the stuff we were using in the studio and on the record. I want to transport that one-to-one on stage. Like I want to play that live, and I think Mainstage is one of the best, you know, options that are out there. And that was the next thing we did. I thought, okay, like I go on the original production sessions and grab the real instruments, and then we're just gonna dial them in with Mainstage. I sat down with Georg and we went through everything, and just like I wanted to have all the songs ready in Logic before we actually play them live. So the first 2 weeks of tour rehearsals was just putting the songs together and arranging the songs pretty much in Logic.
We used to put weeks and weeks and weeks into developing the show, and we literally would open up the Logic session that Tom had, and we would just go through it and say, okay, cool, let's pull that channel strip and put it into our Mainstage setup. Okay, well, what happens in the chorus? Like, oh, those buses turn on, that automation's all happening. Let's do it live. Let's find a way to do it live. And it was a crazy process. I mean, this was by far the biggest build I have ever been a part of, and it all is just because of Tom's like undying desire to be like, it has to be right. I want it to sound like the record. I want this to be something special. I want it to be something nobody's ever heard. I want to push the envelope as far as we can. And I think that's what we've done.
Everything that we're using, the drum sampler, the keyboard, you know, the Mainstage laptops for the vocal processing, everything is automated now. So we don't need to change anything, just next song, and everything switches, which is amazing.
I would say the coolest part about our setup that we've created is that it does everything. It is sending through our Motu Ultralight interfaces MIDI information to everything on the stage. And that means I'm controlling the vocal effects processing, I'm controlling what keyboard sounds are coming up, I'm controlling what sounds are coming up on Georg and Tom's drum pads, what sounds come up on Gustav's drum pads. I mean, everything on the stage is controlled from this one mothership brain.
The amount of samples is incredible we use, so for every song we've got a different setup. The remote control, so whenever Mainstage or I press the button, it's obviously remote control, so all the samples will change and all the keys will change. There's a lot of work in advance, but it works out fine.
The drum sampler from Roland, and we put all our custom samples in it, and Gustav is triggering it with different pads and different bass drum pads. The reason why we're doing this, all the triggers, all the different sound, is because we want to sound like the record. So, and this thing allows us to do all the electronics in a human way, so Gustav can play all the electronics, all the different sounds, and uses his custom-built drum set as well.
Anything you can think up, I can automate. And I think that it's pushing the limits of programming so far for a show, because when it hits the chorus, I can drop the vocal 2 dB, turn on a wide delay, turn, you know, I mean, distortion on. I can do so many different things, and it's all automated off of the computer. The main computer sends a MIDI controller change, and it does everything. It's super cool. So for the band, they don't have to do anything except for just get up there and play and rock out and have a great time. Some really cool things that we're able to pull off with Mainstage now is all the auto-tune effects that happen on the record. It'll be 3 words, every 4th word has a hard auto-tune on it, but with the MIDI changing that's happening, I can turn auto-tune on and off throughout the whole show.
So we ended up using a lot of the plugins we used in the studio, and also we wanted to use auto-tune live, which is simply amazing because with the original plugin you have the problem of latency most of the time. If you use it live, it's really hard to find the right amount, and then always, like, if you really want to use it, you have a latency problem also with all the other plugins. And with auto-tune live, it's simply gone. I mean, this thing is amazing.
With auto-tune, we're not using it traditionally for pitch correction. We're using it as the effect. So when you hear auto-tune come on, you know it's on because it's all the way T-paned out auto-tune. We're not using it for pitch correction. Bill doesn't need that. We're using it just for a cool effect, but with the setup that we have now, I can turn auto-tune on and off for certain words throughout the song. It's like, oh, I want auto-tune on for the 3rd word in the 2nd verse. That can happen.
Just imagine a song like Stormy Weather. I mean, that song is just written and made of auto-tune vocals. So there's no way you can play that song and make it sound great and have the same feeling to it if you can't use live auto-tune. So we always had to find a way for every song how to process and use all the stuff we were using in the studio live on stage, and we're using the live effects of what we were using in the studio to recreate the sound.
By far the most advanced thing that we're doing, and I think it's really bold, and it's something that Tom wanted and Bill wanted so much, is to process the vocal the way that it was processed on the record. And the cool thing is Tom and Bill produced, and really Tom produced this record so much, he wanted to take those sounds and make them happen live. Every song, they have 2 or 3 different sounds. I mean, they are playing this record. They are pushing themselves so much farther than before. It's a different live experience. It's not, there's one thing of let's get up there and let's make it live. This is like, if you come and see one of these shows, it's like watching them doing takes on their record, because they're the exact sounds that they use. It could have been the take that ended up on the record.
I'm very excited and nervous at the same time, because there's so much technology that goes into it, and there's so much more than we ever used or any other band used before. I don't even know if anybody did that kind of setup before. It's so much technology that you have to rely on as well. And so it makes you a little nervous too.
It's super weird to sing with all the effects, but that's just something you need to figure out. Also, you sing way different if you have all these different effects. So every song has a completely different sound. And I can't wait for the people to hear it, because I think it turned out really cool.
This is the new Tokyo Hotel. This is pushing them all the way to where their new sound is, and they wanted to play it. They didn't want to just be like, oh, okay, we'll put it in the backing tracks. It's like, no, we're gonna play it. So that's what we created.